The moment the stranger slid the envelope onto my table, something inside me shifted, quietly but permanently. It was a thin, manila envelope, nothing special, no markings, no return address. But the way she placed it down, slow, deliberate, like it carried weight far beyond paper, made my breath catch. "You will need this tonight," she whispered. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It cut straight through me. And then she added, just before turning away, "Do not open it here." The cafe sat at the edge of town, where the road narrowed and the world felt like it was slowly being forgotten. I had been coming there every Thursday since my husband died. Same booth, same corner, same quiet. It smelled like baked apples and old wood, like something warm trying to survive in a cold world. The owner never asked questions, and that was exactly why I kept coming back. Grief doesn't like witnesses. That afternoon, though, I wasn't alone. My son Lucas sat across from me, his fingers wrapped around a coffee he hadn't touched. Beside him, Marissa stirred her tea slowly, the spoon tapping against porcelain in a rhythm that felt too controlled to be accidental. Outside, the sky hung low and gray. Inside, something felt rehearsed. "You should really think about downsizing, Eleanor," Marissa said finally. Her tone was soft, but polished, practiced. Too practiced. "That land is too much responsibility for one person." Lucas nodded quickly, like he'd been waiting for his cue. "We just worry about you, Mom. The taxes, the upkeep, winter's coming again." I smiled. It wasn't a real smile. It was the kind you learn when you've already lost something you can't replace. "I've lived there for 41 years, I said calmly. "I know how to take care of it." Marissa glanced at Lucas, just a quick look, but I saw it. Mothers always do. It wasn't disagreement, it wasn't concern, it was timing. Not yet, but soon. They stood to pay the bill together, leaning close, whispering. They'd started doing that more often, like I wasn't part of the conversation anymore, like I was something being managed. I stayed seated, folding my napkin carefully, reaching for my purse, and that's when I felt her. A presence. Close. Too close. I turned sharply and knocked over my water glass. The woman stood beside me, unmoving. Mid-50s, maybe older. Her hair was pulled tight, streaked with iron gray. Her coat was heavy, too heavy for indoors. But it was her eyes that froze me. They didn't wander, they didn't blink. They locked onto mine like she had been searching for me her entire life. "Eleanor Hayes," she said, not a question. My throat tightened. "Yes?" That's when she placed the envelope down. Her fingers trembled just slightly as she released it. "You will need this tonight." A pause. Then softer, "Do not open it here." I opened my mouth, but she was already gone. By the time I stood, she had reached the door. By the time I stepped forward, she had vanished into the gray afternoon like she had never existed at all. "Everything okay, Mom?" Lucas's voice snapped me back. I turned quickly. "Fine," I said, too quickly. The envelope felt heavier than it should as I slid it into my bag. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The drive home passed in a blur. Lucas talked about weather. Marissa mentioned property values. I nodded where I needed to, said the right things, but my mind was somewhere else. On the envelope, on the woman, on the way she had said, "tonight." They dropped me at the end of my gravel drive, declined my offer to come in. Of course they did. I watched their car disappear between the trees, and then I stood there longer than I should have, listening. The wind moved through the branches. The house waited. Something felt off, like the land itself was holding its breath. Inside, I locked the door. I hadn't done that regularly since my husband died, but tonight felt different. Everything felt different. I placed the envelope on the kitchen table, and then I just sat, staring at it, as if it might open itself, as if it might explain everything without me having to touch it. The house creaked softly around me, old wood, familiar sounds, but tonight they felt louder, closer, more aware. Dusk faded into night without me noticing. The room darkened until the envelope was just a shadow on the table, waiting. I didn't open it right away. Maybe I was afraid. Maybe I thought that if I ignored it long enough, it would lose whatever power it had. But deep down, I knew better. Some things don't lose power, they gain it. By the time I made tea, one I never drank, the house was completely dark. Only the clock ticked. Slow, steady, unforgiving. 8:47. That's when I finally reached for it. The paper tore softly under my fingers. Inside, a small brass key, old, worn smooth, heavy, and a folded strip of notebook paper. I opened it. Neat handwriting, deliberate, controlled. 11:32. Answer: do not call back. That was it. No name, no explanation, nothing. My throat got dry. I checked the clock. 8:59. Almost 3 hours to wait. 3 hours of knowing something was coming and not knowing what. I locked every door, every window, checked them twice, then 3 times. The land outside was silent, too silent. No cars, no voices, just wind. At 9:30, I tried folding laundry. At 10, I stopped pretending. At 11, I turned off every light except the one above the sink. The kitchen felt smaller in the dim glow, the shadows deeper, the corners farther away. The key sat in my palm, cold, solid, real, unlike everything else. 11:31. My heart started pounding, loud enough to hear, loud enough to feel in my throat. 11:32. The phone rang. I flinched hard, my chair scraped the floor. The sound cut through the house like a blade, sharp, sudden, final. No caller ID, no number, just ringing. I answered on the second ring. Hello? My voice didn't sound like mine. At first, nothing, just breathing, slow, controlled, close, too close. Then a voice, distorted, filtered, but unmistakable. Eleanor. My knees gave out. I grabbed the table to stay standing. No! It wasn't possible. It couldn't be. But I knew that voice. I had heard it for over 40 years, in quiet mornings, in late-night whispers, in laughter, in apologies, in promises. My husband is dead, I whispered. Do not trust Lucas, the voice cut through me. Cold, certain. Do not trust Marissa. My breath hitched. And do not trust the local police. My hand covered my mouth, my entire body shaking now. You are not safe where you are, the voice continued. The land is the reason. Who is this? This isn't funny. I wish I could tell you everything. A pause. Static crackled. But if I don't keep this short, they will find me. My heart slammed against my ribs. My husband did not die the way they told you. The world tilted. It was not an accident. My grip on the table tightened. If you let them push you out, they will erase what I left behind. The line crackled violently. The voice cut, then returned, just once more. The truth is under your feet, Eleanor, and you have very little time. Silence. The call ended. I stood there longer than the line had gone dead, the phone pressed to my ear. The house around me no longer felt like home. It felt exposed, watched. I checked the call log. Nothing. No record, no trace. But my hands were still shaking, my chest still aching, my world already changing. That night, I didn't sleep, not even for a second, because I knew one thing with terrifying clarity. Whatever killed my husband was still out there, and it was closer than I had ever imagined. I did not sleep that night, not even for a moment. I sat at the kitchen table until the sky began to pale, watching the darkness loosen its grip on the world outside my windows. The trees stood still, black against the slow gray light, like witnesses that refused to speak. By morning, I felt something inside me had changed. Fear was still there, but it had sharpened, focused. At exactly 8:07 a.m., I saw Lucas's car pull into the driveway. He didn't call first. He used to always call. That small detail settled heavily in my chest. Respect doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes, quietly, deliberately. I stood at the sink, drying my hands slowly, controlling my breathing. The envelope, the key, the note, the voice. Every instinct told me to hide everything, but I didn't move. Fear feeds on reaction, and Lucas had always been good at reading reactions. The front door opened without knocking. "Morning, Mom." His voice was casual, too casual. He walked in carrying 2 coffees, placing one in front of me like it was a peace offering. "You look tired." "I didn't sleep well," I said evenly. That was true, just not the whole truth. Lucas sat down across from me, but he didn't relax. He scanned the room. Not obviously, not enough for anyone else to notice, but I noticed. His eyes paused just briefly on the door to his father's old office, then back to me. "We need to talk," he said. There it was. I stayed standing. "I'm listening." He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "Marissa and I have been discussing your situation." My situation. I repeated it silently, reducing a life to a problem. "The property, your finances, your health," he continued. I wrapped my hands around the coffee cup. It was warm, grounding. "I'm fine, Lucas." He exhaled, like I had missed the point entirely. "Mom, you've been alone a long time." There was something rehearsed in the way he said it, measured, prepared. "This land," he gestured vaguely toward the window, "it's too much for one person now." "I've managed it before," I said. "Before," he repeated carefully, "you weren't alone." The word hung between us. Alone. Heavy. Intentional. "You don't need to prove anything anymore," he added. There it was again, the same line from the cafe, the same script. "I'm not proving anything," I said quietly. "I'm living my life." Lucas's jaw tightened. For a moment, I saw something flicker behind his expression. Not concern, not frustration, something colder. "Mom, this isn't about pride. It's about reality." "What reality?" I asked. "That this place isn't safe for you anymore." My stomach tightened. "Unsafe how?" He hesitated, just a fraction too long. "An accident," he said finally. The word landed hard, too hard. "A fall, a medical emergency, something could happen out here and no one would know." No one would know. The echo of the voice from the night before pressed against my thoughts. Do not trust him. I set the coffee down, untouched. "Something like what?" I asked again. This time I didn't soften it. Lucas leaned back. The conversation wasn't going the way he expected. "I think you understand what I'm saying." "No," I said, "I don't think I do." Before he could respond, the front door opened again. No knock, no hesitation. Marissa stepped inside. She didn't greet me, didn't sit down, didn't remove her coat. She remained standing near the doorway, scrolling through her phone like she was already late for something more important. "I took the liberty to review your accounts," she said. Just like that. No apology, no permission. My chest tightened. "You had no right." She looked up slowly and smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, politely, cold. "As Lucas's next of kin, he has an obligation to understand your financial position." I turned to my son. He didn't meet my eyes. "According to what we found," Marissa continued, stepping closer now, "you're not in a position to maintain this property long term." "I am fine," I said. "Are you?" she asked softly. Her tone was gentle, but her eyes weren't. "To me, it looks like grief is affecting your judgment." There it was, the shift. Subtle, strategic, dangerous. Lucas leaned forward again. "Mom, maybe we should consider guardianship." The word hit harder than anything else. Guardianship. Not help, not support. Control. "Temporary," Marissa added quickly, "just until things stabilize." The room felt smaller, the walls closer. "You want control," I said quietly. Lucas's expression hardened. That's not fair. It's accurate. Marissa stepped even closer now, close enough that I could see the sharp precision in her expression. This doesn't have to be difficult, Eleanor. She said my name like it belonged to paperwork, not to me. If you agree to sell the property and move to somewhere more appropriate, all of this goes away. And if I don't? I asked. Lucas looked away. Marissa didn't. Then we proceed without your consent. Silence. Heavy. Final. A chill moved through me. Not fear, not anymore. Clarity. Farms can be dangerous places, Marissa added slightly. People your age get hurt all the time. That was it. That was the moment everything snapped into place. Get out, I said. Lucas blinked. Mom, get out of my house. The words didn't come from fear. They came from something deeper, something steadier. Marissa exhaled sharply, already reaching for her phone. Lucas stood slowly, like he was trying to recover control of a situation he no longer understood. They left together, but not quietly, not uncertain. At the door, Lucas paused, just for a second. He looked back at me, and in that moment, I saw it. Not concern, not love. Calculation. The door closed. The house fell silent again, but it wasn't the same silence. I locked the door, then I locked it again. My hands were shaking, but my mind wasn't. For the first time since my husband died, I understood something completely. They weren't worried about me. They were afraid. Afraid of what was standing on. And whatever was buried beneath this land was worth more to them than I was. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I cleaned. I washed the coffee cups they had touched. I wiped the table. I swept the floor. Order. Control. Something to hold on to. But when there was nothing left to clean, the truth remained. I turned slowly toward the hallway, toward the one room I had avoided for months. My husband's office. The door creaked softly as I opened it. The smell hit me first. Cedar. Oil. Familiar. Painful. Grief lived here. But now, something else did too. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The office smelled exactly the same. That was the first thing I noticed. Cedar, oil, paper. Him. For a moment I couldn't move. Grief doesn't disappear. It waits, quietly, patiently, and sometimes it hits when you least expect it. But this time, it wasn't just grief pulling me forward. It was something else. Truth. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The soft click echoed louder than it should have, sealing me in, or maybe sealing something out. The room looked untouched. His desk sat exactly where he had left it, papers stacked neatly, tools aligned with that quiet precision he always had, nothing out of place. Too perfect. My husband had never been careless, but he also wasn't rigid. This felt intentional. I moved slowly, carefully, like the room itself might react if I rushed. The filing cabinet stood against the far wall, metal, old, familiar. I had opened it 100 times over the years, but never like this. The first drawer slid open with a soft scrape. Property taxes, insurance papers, receipts. Normal. Too normal. I almost closed it, almost convinced myself that I was imagining things, that grief and fear were twisting everything into something it wasn't. But then I remembered the voice. The truth is under your feet. I forced myself to look closer, not at what was there, but how it was there. That's when I saw it. The dates. Several documents had been shifted, not removed, not hidden, just moved, out of sequence, slightly misaligned. Anyone else would have missed it, But I had lived with him for over 40 years. I knew his habits, his order, his patterns. This wasn't a mistake. It was a signal. My pulse quickened. I pulled the stack out and checked behind it. Nothing. Then the next. Still nothing. Then, at the back, a thin folder, barely noticeable, pressed flat like it didn't want to be found. I hesitated, just for a second, because something in me already knew. Once I opened it, everything would change. I opened it anyway. Bank statements. At first glance, nothing unusual. Routine deposits, routine expenses. But then, cash withdrawals. My breath caught. Small amounts, spread out, carefully timed, always just under the threshold that would draw attention, and they stopped, abruptly, 2 weeks before his death. I sank into the chair behind his desk. My husband hated cash. He used to say, "If it isn't recorded, it isn't real." So why would he do this? The answer came quietly, cold, clear. Because he didn't want it traced. My chest tightened. I closed my eyes and let the memories come. The last year of his life, the small changes, the ones I had ignored, the nights he woke up and didn't come back to bed, the long walks, the way he started locking the barn, the way his eyes would flick toward the trees whenever headlights passed. I had asked him once, "What's wrong?" He had smiled, soft, reassuring. "I worry too much." That wasn't the truth. That was protection. For me. My eyes opened slowly. The room didn't feel the same anymore. I kept digging. The bottom drawer, harder to open, like it had something to hide. Inside, more files, more order, more normal, until I reached the very back, a folded sheet of yellow paper. My name was written on it, in his handwriting. My hands started shaking before I even touched it. I unfolded it slowly, carefully, like it might fall apart if I moved too fast. "Eleanor, if you are reading this, then I could not stop it the way I hoped." The words blurred instantly, but I forced myself to keep reading. "Do not ask questions where ears listen. The truth is buried. Silence was the only thing that kept you alive." I stopped. My breath caught somewhere between my chest and my throat. Buried. The same word, the same warning. This wasn't coincidence. This was a trail, and I was following it. I set the paper down carefully, like it still mattered how I handled things. Then I turned to his computer. It sat on the desk, closed, quiet, waiting. It took longer than I expected. Passwords had never been simple with him. I tried our anniversary. Nothing. I tried my birthday. Nothing. The dog's name. Nothing else. I sat back, frustrated, thinking. Then it came to me. The first property he ever owned. Before me, before us. I entered the address. The screen unlocked. My stomach dropped. There were emails, dozens of them. Archived, not deleted, hidden but not gone. My husband never deleted things. He preserved them, even when they were dangerous. I opened the first thread. Short messages, careful language, no details. But one thing stood out immediately. The sender, a criminal defense attorney in another state. My pulse spiked. Why would my husband, a man who followed every rule, be speaking to a criminal lawyer? I scrolled further. Meeting confirmations, payments, dates that matched the withdrawals. My hands went cold. This wasn't fear anymore. This was proof. I opened another folder. Photos, night shots, the edge of our land, tire tracks, fresh, deep, and then one image made my breath stop completely. The North Slope, the place he had always told me to avoid. I remembered every time he had said it. Casual, firm, Final. Don't go there alone. I thought it was concern. It wasn't. It was a boundary, a line I was never meant to cross, because he already had. I leaned back in the chair, the room spinning slowly around me. Lucas grew up here. He knew every inch of this land, every path, every hidden corner, every place something could be buried. The thought made me feel sick. My phone vibrated. I froze. Slowly, I reached into my pocket. Unknown number. A message. You are doing the right thing. Do not confront them. They are already watching. My eyes lifted toward the window instinctively. The trees stood still, but they didn't feel empty anymore. They felt occupied, observed. I set the phone slowly. My husband hadn't left me answers. He had left me a map, a warning, and a choice, to stay blind or to see everything. I looked around the room one last time, at his desk, his files, his careful, deliberate trail. He knew. He was preparing me, even if it meant he wouldn't be there to finish it. And now, that responsibility was mine. I stood slowly. The fear was still there, but it had changed. It wasn't paralyzing anymore. It was sharpening me, because the truth was no longer a possibility. It was real. My husband hadn't died in an accident. He had been silenced, and the people responsible were closer to me than anyone else. I did not leave the house that day. Not once. I watched the land instead. From the windows, from the kitchen, from the hallway that overlooked the morgue field. 41 years I had lived on that land, walked it, worked it, trusted it. Now I studied it like it could betray me. The trees felt different, not peaceful, not protective, occupied. By late afternoon, the first sign came, a truck. It rolled slowly past the end of my driveway. Too slow, too deliberate. It didn't stop, didn't turn in, just passed. I told myself it meant nothing, a wrong turn, a lost driver. But an hour later, it came back. Same speed, same silence. That's when I knew. The message wasn't subtle. We see you. I stepped back from the window, heart steady, mind sharper than it had been in months. The text echoed in my head. They are already watching. They weren't waiting anymore. They were moving. Just after sunset, my phone rang. This time, no distortion, no silence. If you are alone, do not hang up. A man's voice, low, controlled. My grip tightened on the phone. Who is this? A man your husband trusted when he ran out of options. Something in his tone made me listen. Not trust, but listen. My name is Grant Mercer. I stayed silent. Let him speak. I cannot stay on the line long, he continued, but you need to understand what you're dealing with. My eyes drifted to the window again. The trees stood still, but I no longer believed they were empty. Your husband left instructions, Grant said. If anything happened to him, I was to watch you. A chill ran through me. He said your son wouldn't wait forever. My chest tightened. Tell me what's happening, I said. There was a pause. Not hesitation, calculation. There's a service tunnel under your property. The words didn't register at first. What? It predates the house, he said. Decades old, expanded over time. It connects to natural rock chambers, unmapped, undocumented. My heart began to pound. Most people would never find it. I swallowed, hard. But Lucas did. Everything inside me went still. He found it years ago, Grant continued, and he realized what it could be used for. I already knew, before he said it. Illegal shipments, storage, movement, things that need to disappear, quietly. My hand tightened around the phone. This land made it perfect, isolated, private, protected by family trust. Family. The word felt wrong now. Your husband noticed signs, Grant said. Vehicles where they shouldn't be, tracks after rain, equipment moving at night. Images from the computer flashed in my mind. He followed it, Grant continued, tracked it underground. My knees weakened slightly. I sat down without realizing it. He documented everything. Of course he did. That's when he confronted Lucas. My breath caught. "What happened?" I whispered. A pause. He didn't rush this part. Lucas promised to stop. I closed my eyes. But once you're inside something like that, there's no walking away. Silence. Heavy. "Your husband refused to stay quiet." My heart slammed against my ribs. And that made him a problem. The words didn't explode. They didn't shatter. They settled. Cold. Heavy. Final. "He didn't drown," Grant said. My eyes snapped open. His car was forced off the road. The room tilted. I was following at a distance, but I couldn't get there in time. Something inside me broke. Not loudly, quietly, like something that had already been cracking for a long time. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because they're accelerating." I understood immediately. "They want the land sold," he said. "Once ownership changes, everything disappears. Permits, construction, evidence buried permanently." Marissa's voice echoed in my mind. "Sell the property, and all of this goes away." It was never about helping me. It was about erasing everything. "What do they want from me?" I asked. "They want you gone," he said, "one way or another." The line went dead. I sat there in silence, the phone still pressed to my ear. Everything had changed. The land beneath me wasn't just land anymore. It was evidence, and my own son had chosen it over everything else. The knock came just after midnight. Not loud, not urgent. 3 slow taps, deliberate. I was already awake, sitting in the dark, listening. It came again. "Mom, it's Lucas." My heart pounded. "We need to talk." Another voice joined him, calm, official. "Mrs. Hayes, this is Deputy Collins. We're here to check on you." A report, of course. They were building a case. "This is a removal," I said quietly. Lucas blinked. "Mom, that's not—" I closed the door, locked it. Everything exploded at once. Pounding, shouting, threats. "Open the door. You're not thinking clearly. We can force entry." My hands shook, but my mind was clear. I ran. Through the mudroom, out the back door, into the night. Cold air slammed into my lungs. I didn't stop. Behind me, the front door broke open. "Mom, stop!" Flashlights cut through the darkness. They were chasing me, on my own land. Branches tore at my clothes, roots caught my feet, but I knew this ground, every inch of it. Fear made them fast, but it made them careless. I reached the clearing near the north slope, dropped to my knees, the place he had once joked about. Good spot to hide treasure. My hands hit the dirt, cold, hard. I dug, faster, harder. My nails broke, skin tore. Then, contact, something solid, a container. Footsteps behind me, closing in. I tore it free. "Give it to me, Mom." Lucas's voice, desperate now. I ran. A beam of light caught me. For a second, I saw his face. Not fear, rage. "You don't understand what you're doing." I did. For the first time, I really did. I ran deeper into the trees. Then, headlights, a car, engine running, passenger door open. "Get in," a woman's voice. I didn't hesitate. I jumped in. The car surged forward. Behind us, Lucas stopped, frozen. The line had been crossed. "There's no going back now," the driver said. I clutched the container tightly, because I knew whatever was inside it was powerful enough to destroy everything. The road stretched long and empty behind us. The farmhouse disappeared into the darkness like it had never existed at all. Only the trees remained, and silence. Heavy. Final. I sat in the passenger seat, still holding the container against my chest. My hands wouldn't let go. Not yet. Not because I was afraid of losing it, but because I was afraid of what it meant. The woman driving didn't speak for a long time, just kept her eyes on the road, focused, controlled, like she had done this before. Finally, she said, "They crossed a line tonight." Her voice was steady, calm, certain. "There's no going back now." I didn't answer, because I already knew something had broken, something permanent. After nearly an hour, she pulled into the lot of a closed roadside motel. The neon sign flickered weakly in the dark, like it was struggling to stay alive. The engine shut off, and suddenly, everything was quiet. Too quiet. "My name is Claire Donovan," she said. "I worked with your husband, off the record." The words hit harder than I expected. Not shock, recognition. She turned slightly toward me. "You should see what's inside." My fingers trembled as I opened the container. Inside, flash drives, carefully wrapped, a small notebook sealed in oilcloth, and a folded letter, with my name written in his handwriting. My breath caught. I opened the letter first. "My dearest Eleanor, if you are holding this, I could not stop them. I am so sorry." The room blurred, but I kept reading. "I left you this because I knew you would survive what I could not. You were always stronger than me in the ways that matter." Tears fell before I could stop them. Claire gave me space, didn't interrupt, didn't rush me. Then she said quietly, "He documented everything. The tunnels, the shipments, the payments. Lucas, Marissa." My stomach tightened. I knew what she meant. "He tried to protect you," she continued, "but he also knew, once you saw the truth, you wouldn't back down." I wiped my face slowly. "What happens now?" I asked. Claire's expression changed. Not fear, not hesitation. "Now we set the trap." The plan. By morning, the message was sent. From my phone, from my house, from the place they thought they still controlled. "I will return what I took. Come tonight, alone." Claire watched me carefully. "They won't come alone," she said. "I know," I replied, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of that, because now I had truth on my side. Night of return. The house felt different when I walked back in. Not safe, not familiar, but ready. The container sat on the kitchen table, visible, intentional, a bait they could not resist. One overhead light lit the room. Everything else stayed in shadow. I stood in the center of it all, waiting. The knock came just after dark. Lucas entered first, his face pale, eyes scanning instantly, searching, calculating. Marissa followed behind him, composed, controlled, but her eyes moved too fast. And then Deputy Collins stepped inside last, quiet, certain. That was the moment I understood. This was never just family, it was a system. "You have no idea what you've done," Marissa said coldly. I didn't move. "I know exactly what I've done." Lucas stepped forward. "Mom, please." His voice cracked, just slightly, but enough to show fear. "Please don't make this worse." I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment, I saw the boy he used to be. But it didn't last, because Marissa spoke next, and everything broke. "He killed his father." Silence. Lucas flinched. "I didn't mean to," he said quickly. "It was supposed to scare him, just stop him from interfering." My breath stopped. The room tilted. "You were supposed to cooperate," Marissa snapped. "He became a liability." That was it. The final truth. No accident, no misunderstanding. Choice and consequence. The door behind them burst open. Lights flooded the room. Voices shouted. Commands filled the air. "Federal agents, on the ground." Chaos erupted instantly. Deputy Collins froze. Marissa screamed. Lucas dropped to his knees. But I didn't move. Not even when the cuffs clicked. Not even when everything fell apart around me. Lucas looked up at me, tears in his eyes now. Real ones, not the calculated ones from before. "Mom, please." My voice was quiet, but steady. "You chose this." Not anger, not hatred, just truth. He closed his eyes as they took him away, and for the first time, he didn't fight it. Aftermath. The house was silent again, but this silence felt different. Clean. Empty. Claire stood beside me. "She left you something else," she said. She handed me a document, a trust, my husband's final safeguard, enough to protect the land, enough to protect me, enough to stop them from ever taking it again. "He knew," I whispered. Claire nodded. "He trusted you to finish it." Final moment. Weeks passed. Investigations, statements, courtrooms, truths coming to light piece by piece. The tunnels were sealed, the operation exposed, the land finally cleared. Lucas was charged. Marissa followed. Others fell with them, but none of that felt like victory. Not yet. Victory came quietly, slowly, in the mornings, when I could walk outside without fear, when the wind felt like wind again, not warning. One morning I stood at the edge of the field, the same field where everything had begun, and I finally understood something. Strength doesn't arrive when you are ready, it arrives when you have no choice left and you still stand anyway. The land was still there. So was I. And this time, it was mine.